Hey, hello everyone. Thank you for watching another episode of Thinking Out Loud. Basically, Thinking Out Loud is just a show where we discuss our thoughts from our experiences with mental health and mostly entrepreneurship. And today we're doing this for our nonprofit organization called Start Day One. Just to let you know more about it, it's a nonprofit foundation for mental health and suicide prevention, where we have a more proactive approach in the way we help people. Most organizations are very reactive, where they actually wait for you to get mental health issues or suicidal tendencies. And we believe that proactively reaching out to you guys and just basically assuming that everyone might be suicidal or have mental health issues rather than waiting for it. Today, this episode, we actually have a special guest all the way from London, UK.
Yes, we do. We have Karl Rollison, and he's an internationally renowned therapist, hypnotist, and a life coach, and one of the world leading experts in stress management. So that is huge, especially with what's going on right now with everyone being quarantined at home, without work, stuck home with their kids. So he's going to be someone very interesting to talk to.
Yep. So let's please welcome Karl Rollison.
Let's welcome Karl.
Hey, how's it going, Karl?
You all right? Yeah, not too bad. Cheers.
Good, good. Cheers to you. So I know we did a little intro about you. Could you just give the audience a little more about you, your background, and basically how you ended up being in the mental health field at all, and then what you're trying to do?
Yeah, basically, I've been a life coach all my life. I've, even when I was a little boy, people would come to me for advice. I've worked in this city most of my life. Got this, just had enough of the city. So one of my friends, he suggested that I become a life coach. Lots of people have said it over the years, and eventually he just come up to me and said, "Look, I've had enough. I've paid for you to go on a course." And it was a really expensive course. So he paid me to go on a course. That was years ago. I've been on loads of courses since. And I love it. I love helping people and I love making a difference.
That's awesome.
Right, awesome. So people, he's got some martial arts background. So, you don't really want to mess with him. So, today we're going to be discussing more about stress management, with discipline. And I'm assuming the discipline part came from your martial arts background a little bit, right?
Obviously you need a lot of discipline for martial arts, but the discipline aspect is how I help people. Is I get them to have a bit of discipline, a bit of self-sovereignty, a bit of taking accountability for themselves.
Oh, perfect.
That's where the discipline comes in.
Gotcha.
The structure and discipline. This is to do with a natural structure that dictates us as human beings. Now, everything in the universe is dictated by structure of some description, with pulses, rhythms, vibrations, or whatever. And we humans, we're the same. We are governed by things called by our chronobiology, by ultradian rhythms, circadian rhythms, and infradian rhythms. So we've already got the structure. The discipline comes into adhering to that structure.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. I love that you said accountability, because one of the things that I always tell people when, and it's everyone, it happens to everyone, it happens to me. So when people are in a bad state of mind, they tend to love excuses and just hate accountability. And that's one of the biggest weaknesses, right? And what I hate, what's happening in society and organizations, is they provide so many excuses and making people not accountable for their mental health issues or suicidal tendencies, as if they have zero control over it. And I don't like that idea, because just from the start, they're already going to go downhill, because now you give them like this idea that, oh, it's not your fault at all. You have depression, this invisible enemy that you have. And as if they can't do anything about it other than if they take the pharmaceutical pills, And so I love that you mentioned that. Right now, this pandemic is kind of crazy. So I don't think we've even hit the actual stress, because we're still hidden from reality.
Yeah.
We haven't gone back to that normal world because everyone's been in their house. I think once it becomes open and everyone's back out, I think everyone's going to get hit with another level of stress where they're going to realize some businesses are not going to come back, that their job is actually not there anymore, and other people are going to be hurting, and it's going to have this trickle down effect with the economy and stuff. So what are your best suggestions with people that are dealing with stress? What's the first thing that you kind of mention?
What, for stress in general, or stress to do with
You know what? Probably best. Let's talk about something that people would relate with, right?
Yeah.
So we're in pandemic. They're going out there. This stress of not knowing what's going to happen. This whole basically, like, people are still scared. Is it going to go up? Am I going to get this COVID-19? Things like that. So let's try and make it relatable to today's what's happening right now, which most people are going to go through.
Okay. Well, I write a lot of articles for magazines and papers. I get commissioned a lot to do things. And one of the things that I wrote recently was the fact that FOMO, fear of missing out, is now been replaced. It's been replaced with the anxiety of being locked down. And now that's transgressing to another anxiety, which is FOGO, fear of going out. So people are getting, are being like almost sort of a form of agoraphobia. So I mean that's something that people got to deal with, because we've been bombarded by the media about fear, be scared and everything, right? It's what they do. It's what they do best. They keep us scared. Pharmaceutical companies make money by selling us drugs. Might be a bit controversial, and then it perpetuates its cycle. But we don't have to be that scared. We don't really have to. We can, as you say about accountability, we can control our own emotions. We can control who we are. So,
and once I was reading about you and stuff, and since we're dealing with stress, I've mentioned before, the worst thing for our bodies, right, is when we're in stress response, and the average person goes through like 50 stress responses per day. The really bad ones go above 100, right? And the key word there is response, right? Stress is just the result. To me, I always emphasize that everything starts off from a negative or just a bad perspective. Once you have a negative or bad perspective, everything will follow. With stress, there's a lot of things that can help, the meditation and, things like that. And I always tell people, you have to always look at the cause, not just the result. Now, your stress is just the result. Don't call stress as the cause of why you're stressed out. That doesn't make any sense. You have to figure out, why are you stressed out? What's causing the stress? Because that's what we need to remedy. But it does sometimes help when you remedy the stress itself, whether it's breathe in, breathe out. I saw one of your videos where you taught people how to kind of do like an association to release stress a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but that, for people that are watching, you have to remember all these different ways are just to remedy the result currently. Until you change your perspective, it's going to keep coming back, and you're going to keep having to use all these different techniques. But until you get rid of the cause, you're always going to have to keep doing that over and over. So the technique is to get you in a proper mindset to start beginning, thinking about your perspective and stuff. And then once you change that, that's the only way things will follow. Because that's just a result, right? I've talked to so many people with depression, anxiety, because stress is mostly, to me, stress really just comes from a fear perspective, right? That's mostly where it's coming from. Some fear of the future that might not even happen, or their perspective is, yep, that's definitely the blueprint of my life now, because this is what's happening and that's it. How do you help change people's perspective when they're just like, I know you deal a lot with phobias and stuff like that. So how do you change their perspective, or where do you start?
where do I begin with that one? I mean, sort of, there's every person that's in front of me. Like, I'm what's called a quantum coach, and I've got all this information and that I've collected from around the world. And I don't know what I'm going to use, how I'm going to treat someone until they're sitting in front of me. You know, we're each different. Each of us got 10 trillion cells, or whatever. We've got different life experiences. So I can't say some template that will magic template that applies to everyone. But one thing I will say is really important. I want to get this, you know, in quickly in case I like forget about it or get overlooked. One of the things about our stress is like we're just electrochemical response batteries, basically. Okay, we're electrochemical, and if our basis is right, if we're hydrated and we're well rested, then that's a really good foundation for managing stress and difficulties. The antithesis of that is having a hangover. You know, you can't deal with anything emotionally, physically. You're just a wreck, right? But what I want to say to people at the moment is everyone's deficient in vitamin D, right? Now, especially now, because everyone's gaming, everyone's sitting indoors. What happens when you go outside, direct sunlight on our skin, we produce vitamin D, right? Now, vitamin D has been proven to keep us, again, this is a discipline in structure, keep us in sync with our circadian rhythms, our sleep-wake cycle, 24-hour cycle. So vitamin D has also been proven to regulate our emotions, to make us feel, to get rid of stress, anxiety. Just gives us this sort of like this armor of protection. And there's another thing, which is magnesium. Now, 50 years ago, the farming methods have changed, and consequently, in the last 50 years, the levels of magnesium in the soil have been depleted. Therefore, our food doesn't contain as much magnesium. So everyone's walking around magnesium deficient, right? Now, magnesium is called nature's sedative, right? It relaxes us, it chills us out, it puts us into a good tempo, and we can deal with things. So if you combine being hydrated, being well rested, having a vitamin D supplement and having a magnesium supplement, that cocktail together, that will make you be able to deal with things so much better. I have people phone me up, right, asking for a consultation, and sometimes I read between the lines, ask them about their structure, their habits, and everything, and I can extrapolate the fact that they're deficient. This is the thing, magnesium, and they're not getting out enough. They're not doing it.
Yeah.
So I say to people, right, look, I'm not going to take your money. Just take some. Get a really good quality vitamin D supplement, really good magnesium. Take that for a couple of weeks. Get back to me in a couple of weeks. People get back to me and like get so many good results. They're like, I've got so much more energy. I'm sleeping better. I'm managing work better. I'm managing my relationship better. So magnesium and vitamin D are their magic pill. Pretty much, I would say, as close as you can get.
That's amazing.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
it's funny because we were just at the vitamin store yesterday, and we bought vitamin D and magnesium. So specifically, we bought those two vitamins.
We're on it, Carl.
We're already on it. I didn't know for those reasons though. I knew I had a vitamin D deficiency, and my cardiologist put me on magnesium just for like flutters. But I didn't realize all the other benefits for that. So that was really interesting to know. Like, I just bought all that yesterday.
Most doctors don't know this stuff, right?
Yeah.
They just they don't know this stuff.
That's awesome.
And see, I love that you mentioned all of that, because, and this is what I emphasize to everyone, they have to really look at this, right? You didn't just go like, hey, Carl, I'm feeling like this and like this. And you're looking at them like, all right, this is just a result. Not sure what the cause is, but let's start with this. Get some vitamin D, get some magnesium, then get back to me. Because if that's not the cause, then it's like, all right, it's something else.
Something else, yeah.
I love that you did that, because a lot of people resort to fixing the result without even knowing the cause. It could have just been magnesium, vitamin D. And it's funny now with everyone in quarantine, right? Everyone's looking at like, yeah, but it's beneficial. We don't want to spread this and that. But when the benefit when it's not beneficial anymore, and it's becoming worse being in quarantine, that's not a good thing, because you're mentioning vitamin D is important. And obviously, when you're staying home, you're not getting that vitamin D.
Right.
So that's really bad. And I haven't seen any studies or anything like that. But, I've seen a couple of articles where in some places the suicide rates have gone up, anxiety have gone up.
Yeah, in
stress
places like
gone up.
Alaska and Washington State in the U.S., because especially Alaska, it's got 6 months of darkness, that they have no sunlight for 6 whole months. They have no vitamin D, they get none. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and that's so awesome, because you're really looking at like, all right, what's causing stuff? And I didn't know that about the vitamin D. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
That was kind of big.
This is all in my Sleep Ninja book, by the way.
Oh yeah, get it closer.
Yeah, put it close.
Hey, that's what it's for. I want people to know. So one of the biggest reasons we're doing this with Start Day One, right? We're just being proactive. We're trying to change people's perspectives from dreaming of one day to starting day one. Day one means there's a day 2, day 3. People get really overwhelmed thinking, oh my God, I have so much to change. No, you just don't know where to start.
Right.
Because everyone's trying to lose 500 pounds in one day. They think they're going to be happy as hell in one day. It's like, no. What I'm saying is you have to start somewhere. If you're an alcoholic, one less beer, things like that. So, the only reason people even talk to us, because we don't cure people. They cure themselves.
Yep.
We just guide them.
Yeah.
There is nothing we can do. Absolutely nothing.
They have to make the decision
Right.
on their own.
So it really has to come from them. And I know it's even more powerful when they think it came from them. So I know you put on their hypnotherapists, what are some techniques is it something that people can use on themselves, or is it something we have to go to Karl for this?
What was the question? Sorry.
Hypnotherapy, is that something like you give them kind of a technique for themselves that they can use? And because I'm all about don't just give a man a fish, teach them how to fish so they can live forever. Is that a technique that they can use, or is that something more that it's more your technique that can really help people and really help change them?
Well, look, I mean, sort of. Right, as we're walking around every day, right, as we're focusing and thinking and going about the day, we're in a what's called a beta mindset, right? I think that's 12 to 30 hertz. That's the frequency of our brain. Now, when we relax, when we daydream, this is an old trading rhythm. Our old trading rhythms go in 90-minute cycles. When we daydream, our brain frequency is being dropped down to an alpha frequency, which is like 12 to 7, right? So that's relaxation. Now, you can do self-hypnosis by just relaxing in a quiet space and maybe trying to get down to theta, which is like a deep relaxation thing. Now, all it is, right, all hypnosis is someone relaxing down to a beta, a theta sort of area. And when that happens, then your subconscious mind is more susceptible, right? It's listening more. Mm-hmm. And what I do is hypnotherapists, we do a couple of things. We look for what's biofeedback, idiomotor responses, and we're looking for ways to get in to talk to the subconscious mind. So if you're asking if people can hypnotize themselves through meditation and self-hypnosis, yes, they can, and it's a really powerful thing to do. And you can just meditate. You just slow your mind down. Just allow yourself to sort of slow down and think about your issues at the core level. Be really honest with yourself. And this is a lot of it's about honesty. Being honest with yourself, is key. And just sort of relaxing and meditating with what the issues are, and you'd be surprised what comes up. Some people are scared to do it, but.
That's funny.
I think a lot of people are afraid to do it because they're afraid that they're going to have to be accountable for those feelings and emotions and those decisions that they've made prior or what have you.
Yeah. Like, let's go back to stress. So to me, like, their perspective is always like, basically they're fearing something in the future that they think is going to happen. It might not, but they all of a sudden recreated their life's blueprint that it's definitely going to happen. And all of a sudden their stress goes up because that's what they think. And I've mentioned this a lot of times on our show, where the amygdala, it's the fight or flight response, and it just doesn't know the difference between a tiger and fearing that you can't pay your bills later. So, with the pandemic going on, with people that are stressing about like, oh my God, I'm going to get COVID-19, or I'm not going to have a job, or this, it's like they have this thing that's the permanent result, that's it. And that's actually what makes them stressed out, right? It causes anxiety. So, and I tell people like, I don't like when people use nouns or anxiety, for example, as the cause, because cause is never a noun. It's always a verb. It's an action word, right? You can't just say COVID-19. What about COVID-19? Like, what do you mean? That shouldn't scare you. Like, I don't get where you're getting anxiety from. So it's really, it's something that's causing the anxiety. And I talked to this one person before, because people are taking pills for anxiety, and they've used it as an excuse. That's kind of how I'm seeing it, because to me, when people say my anxiety is it's really high today, Karl, like because of the pandemic and stuff, I have to ask, what do you mean? Like, anxiety doesn't just come from nowhere. You have to build that's just the result of something, right? So I told this one guy, like, what is causing you to be anxious? That's what you really need to ask yourself. And so he was, one of the things, the story that he mentioned was like when he's driving, when he's in a car, he said. So that's just a situation. And I was like, that's not the cause. Everyone drives. Like, what about driving, man? You need to tell me more than that. And then that's when he said, well, when I'm in a car, I think I'm going to get into an accident or something. And I'm like, all right, now we're getting somewhere. Whenever you're in a car, you start thinking that way. You think you can get an accident. So obviously that's going to cause anxiety, right? And that's now why, it's going to cause you to be anxious, sorry. And that's why now you have anxiety. And what drives me nuts are people are just taking pills for temporary relief. They're just, I got anxiety. Where's my pills? Because my heart's racing. And it's crazy because it's just the result. It's like going up to a pretty girl, and every time I go up to her, my heart just goes up and I need a pill or something. And I'm like, that's not it, man. It's because you think when you approach her, you're going to get rejected, and you're going to believe this lie inside of you that you're a loser. And so once you do that, that's going to be the proof that you were looking for. And so no, you'd rather now find out that you're actually a loser. And so you just go, I'm not approaching her. So that's really, a big thing that I tell people, like, you really have to just keep looking at the cause, not the result, and the idea that the society itself, right? Like when people, a lot of the things that we do, it goes to, about suicidal tendencies. And I've always told people everything starts with a negative perspective. It just evolves, right? To becoming suicidal tendencies. It's just like physical weight. Everyone knows to work out, man. Everyone knows to diet, but there's still people that are obese. How is that possible if everyone knows? So it just kind of evolves. So someone suicidal, to me, I look at as like someone that went 500 pounds, And the thing is, what's funny is even with physical health, it always starts with the mind, right? Because
this is sort of like phobias, for example. It's what you just said is similar to phobias. If someone's like when you're dehydrated and you're depleted of water and sodium levels are low, then you're skimming along and you haven't rested properly. You're skimming along the edge of anxiety, right? Now, if you have a panic attack, right, while going to work on a crowded train, then that anchor that panic attack to that environment. So suddenly you haven't just had a panic attack. You've got a phobia of trains. You've got a complex phobia of social interaction. You've got agoraphobia. This is how this all starts. Things start with little things. As I say, self-sovereignty, looking after yourself. Make sure you're hydrated all the time. Make sure you've got this mechanisms to deal with stuff, and like identification is really key. This is again, it's about structure and discipline. Having a structure of not just realizing your stress, but actually giving it a number. That's a really powerful thing. So then you're gauging it, you're quantifying it, and then when you say 0 to 10, 0 not stress at all, 10 panic attack, when it gets to about 6 or 7, it's time to take appropriate action. So people don't realize this. You need to monitor yourself. You need to constantly look after yourself and how you feel, and monitor. And don't let it run away with you, because if it runs away with you, then you start hiding, you start making excuses, you start hiding other things, and this thing builds and builds, and before you know it, you've lost control of it.
Yeah.
So it's just about managing things.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And funny that you say that. When people, when you just mentioned that, like being self-aware, and that's where I always tie in entrepreneurship. I don't know why. It's because an entrepreneur is basically someone that just monetizes solutions to problems and being accountable for it, right? Because they have no one to blame. Entrepreneurs can't blame anyone. It's their fault, And so whenever I hear self-awareness, I always think of comparing themselves like they're a personal business. You got to look at yourself the way you would look at a business. Why is the revenues down? Why is this up? What's happening? And no one does enough inventory of stress, so you can look at that way. Those are the problems happening within your, personal environment, right? That's really your brand or your company, really. And no one's doing enough of that, where just being self-aware with how I'm feeling, what's happening, and why. With every business, when you're not selling something, like, you ask, why isn't it selling? Like, what's happening? And when you're running out of money, why are we running out of money? People that go in debt and stuff. It's like, you have to be accountable, and you have to take, on businesses, it's always, they do monthly, quarterly, annually, just to see what's happening. And no one does that with their personal life at all. Like, how's my stress level this week? Next month, you had a panic attack last week. Hey, so how's that going? Like, did you handle that? Did you take care of it? What are you doing about it? Oh, nothing. Well, that's gonna get worse, right? I like that you keep mentioning these things that just tries to hold them more accountable.
So in what's going on now, like in today's world, like I'm hearing a lot of things from women who are stuck home with their kids, and they're homeschooling them now, and they're stressed out. So what is like a little suggestion or a tip that you could give to them? Like women who are actually usually at work and now they're stuck home with their kids.
Yeah, this is a thing called zoning. I wrote an article about this when it all started. Again, this ties into what the title, structure and discipline. So our home's already structured, right? You've got an area where you prepare food, you've got an area where you bathe, you've got an area where you sleep, you've got an area for family recreational time, right? So what you need to do with zoning is you have the bedroom, right? For example, as relaxation area. You don't have that. You don't contaminate that with work. You don't make it a phone call. You don't make it a games room, right? There's no tech in your bedroom, right? But also, you've got to set strict rules with kids. You've got your office. Say you've got an office and you've got conference calls. Then you really have to like reiterate to the kids, even with colourful, kids respond to signs and symbols, right? Big letters, like no kids zone. Don't come in here. Keep reiterating to them, this is my area, this is mummy's area, she has to work and you're not allowed in here, and you tell kids enough, they're easily programmed, they'll adhere to that. So you set zones where they're not allowed in the bedroom, they're not allowed in the office.
That's interesting. I never even thought about. I mean, we don't have any children, so we're not dealing with that. So that's why it was interesting.
Heard.
Yeah, but like I said, I've been hearing it so much where moms are just stressed out because the kids are driving them crazy, but they have to work and they're not managing it very well.
Yeah. Well, there's another problem as well. It's with people. Again, this ties into discipline and structure. You need to stay in sync with your circadian rhythms, and how you do that is a lot of people I've been speaking to. It's like, oh yeah, they just sit around in their pajamas all day, watching box sets and that sort
Yep.
of thing. People that have to work, they're working in their pajamas with their slippers on. No, you can't do that. You're not giving your subconscious mind. This is bad for your mental health. You need to give your subconscious mind distinct barriers.
Yep.
This is downtime. This is time to relax and watch box sets and time spent with your kids. This is uptime. This is where, I'm working. You tell your subconscious mind. And how you do that is by the visceral feeling of clothes. Like you're putting on, I think it's really, you don't want to be in formal clothes. That's just not comfortable. But I think it's really healthy to, like, gym clothes. Gym clothes are really sort of empowering, stuff you put on for your gym, because subconsciously you're like, right, I'm going to be doing something. I'm going to be doing something active. So just the feel of putting on trainers, and I would say anyone, listening to this, if you've got something to do and you've got to tackle something, try this. Put your slippers on, right, or stand in your socks and think about doing it, and then take them off, and then put your trainers on and think about doing it. Right, your trainers, you'll be geared up to do it. Your slippers, you won't be. There's these, psychological associations with even our footwear. So it's about things around us. It's about utilizing things to the best effect.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
That's
that is
really
interesting. It's funny.
We've been getting up and getting dressed and putting makeup on. You're not putting makeup on, but I'm putting makeup on. Taking a shower, doing my hair, putting makeup on every day. It's just one of those things where I think this whole 3 months we've been locked down. I think I didn't put makeup on like 3 days.
Yeah.
So but you're right. It actually gets you up and moving and makes you want to tackle the things that you have to tackle that day.
Yeah, and like you said, the association. It's actually where this Start Day One kind of came from, right? So we are owned the apparel clothing. It's called Phuket Clothing, and basically what we try to do with that is help people change their perspective and really just making the decision. The biggest thing about that is that it's really nothing will change unless someone makes a decision. The only purpose of motivation and inspiration is to change your perspective so that you can make a decision. Once you make a decision, you need no more motivation or inspiration from anyone. Until your perspective changes again, then you're going to need that motivation, because you're shifting. You're going like, man, I'm not going to make it. I think I shouldn't do this business anymore. Like, all of a sudden you're losing, and that's when you require that motivation. But once you make that decision, like, you know what, I got this. That's it. You don't even need that. So, with the association of what we're about, it actually helps empower people to kind of, when they wear the brand, they kind of go, yeah. And the biggest thing about it, and people don't know, so even though it's pronounced Phuket, it actually persuades people to say fuck it more, right? And yeah, it tricks their mind. It's so funny because it tricks their mind into this powerful mindset, because the only time we actually say that phrase is only until we've already made a decision. That's the only time. You never say it any other time. And it's because the reason we say it is we're actually confirming to ourselves that we're going to follow through and commit to the decision we just made. We never back out. No one says, plays poker, fuck it, I'm all in. And then do this, ever. So it's very,
dealer won't let it.
Yeah. So that association with that mindset is very powerful. And I tell people, it's like clothing especially, right? It's a representation of who you are. When you wear something, it just kind of empowers you, and you go like, this is me. That's why when you wear Nike, all of a sudden you're Michael Jordan, like, just because you wore the shoes, you can jump higher.
Yeah.
And it really does. True. And it really does work. And, we've helped people with that. And that's why we started doing Start Day One, actually, because after events and stuff, all of a sudden people will say, hey, you've actually, I was suicidal when I met you. Thank you for saving my life. And we're like, we got to do this more.
Yeah.
This proactive thing. So people that are watching, so the reason we're even doing this video with Karl is because we're trying to be more proactive. We're hoping someone that needs this will see this. All the stuff that we're talking about, the techniques, the perspective, all this stuff. Because I know a lot of people, it's just like exercise, right? They think they don't need to go to the gym when you're in shape. I'm good. It's even harder with mental health because you can't tell, you can't see it. But people don't understand mental health, physical health. It's something you start today. You don't go to the gym when you're 500 pounds, 200 pounds, when you're overweight. You do it right now, even when you're in shape, because that's the reason people are in shape is because they do it. You have to maintain. Same thing in your mental health.
That's discipline.
Yeah, that's that discipline. It becomes first motivation. It becomes a habit. But you have to know that it's necessary. Same thing with the mental health. You don't start next weekend when you get depressed or when something happens. You have to apply these tools already and really start working your mental health. Like you said, one of the things we've mentioned on this show before was nature, like how it helps you being out in
Vitamin D
nature,
in the sun.
the vitamin D.
Yeah.
Now that people know the vitamin D, like you have to take a fucking proactive approach and start getting your vitamin D. Don't wait when you're suicidal. Don't wait when you have anxiety. Don't wait for the result, because that's true prevention. One of the things we tell people, Karl, is the mindset with mental health, right? Or even suicidal tendencies is that reactive, notion that, and I always compare it with parents telling kids to eat whatever they want. We'll just look for symptoms of diabetes. That's how they treat suicidal tendencies. They go, oh, we got to teach parents how to look for this. Like, once you see symptoms of mental illness, like, then go for the kill. It's like, what? That's not what we do. We tell our kids to eat vegetables, to run outside, to play, to socialize. You don't wait until they're suicidal and then you do something about it. So this is why we kind of do this, and we're hoping, we're raising money basically to duplicate what we're trying to do. They're not going to come to us. So we want to hire people like Karl and, different speakers to actually go to schools, military bases, mental health facilities, venues, whatever it is, because the biggest issue at these venues, it's not in the budget, or they wait until something happens, right? They only call for a speaker when a suicide happens, and it drives me nuts, right? It's like you should do more prevention. And so just for the people that don't know, this is actually what we're doing. And, you can donate by texting Start Day 1 to 44321 to donate. And basically it gives us the ability to hire speakers like yourself, Karl, to be able to talk without, to be able to pay, because there's so many people, like we've talked about this. We're like, you were like, it's hard to keep doing this for free, but you can't help it. Right?
Yeah.
You see it, and
you know, people need help. You know, people need help.
Yeah.
Well, this is why at the moment in the UK, this is in the papers, I offer for the health workers, NHS in the UK, I offer free consultation, because a lot of these guys are going through mental health issues, their anxiety and stress, so yeah, I mean, I do a lot of stuff for free, but my accountant doesn't like it. By the way, this is my logo. This is Stress Ninja.
Oh yeah. Oh, nice. Loving the balance there, little yin yang.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, nice.
I love that.
I have another guest that's a very strong proponent of the whole balance, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that we kind of discuss, and I've mentioned this before, that you need the dark with the light, right? One of the ways that I tell
yin and yang, like a
I actually tell people when I start talking about my clothing line, the first thing I say is, do you know that concept, living life to the fullest? And they're just like, yeah, it's impossible. All of a sudden they're like, whoa, you're supposed to inspire me. You're telling me it's impossible. So it kind of,
you can't do it.
Yeah, it messes them up a little bit. And then what I tell them is that the reason it's impossible because it's human nature to actually take life for granted, right? That's why we complain on Mondays, traffic, weather. To me, it always comes down to just supply and demand. too much supply of something, the demand for it or the value of it just kind of goes down. It always does. Right now, we can't wait to go to the park or something. Like, you didn't go to the park before. Like, because it was always there.
But now that you can't, you're not allowed to.
Right.
Now you want to go.
It's kind of like how many Hawaiians are hanging out on the beach? Almost zero every time you go there, because it's there every single day. You go, oh my God, this is paradise. Yeah, they don't think so because they see it every day. Like, but they think New York City or London, like, oh, I can't wait to go there. And we're going like, what do you mean?
The city.
You don't want to be at the beach all day? So it's funny that that's kind of how it works. So the balance, that's cool that you have that. The biggest way I help people understand to change their perspective on it is I always tell them, like, have you ever seen a movie that has zero conflict or struggle? And they're like, no. I'm like, exactly. That's a documentary. Actually need the struggle. And then I mention to kids, when I talk to kids, I'll mention video games. Do you play the games that are easy? The level of difficulty, whether it's soccer, video games, football, whatever, does the level of difficulty increase or decrease as you get better? They're just like, increases. Yeah. Then why do you keep playing it? Because it's more challenging, it's more fulfilling. But why is it that when it happens to your life, all of a sudden, it's a whole different story? People that are suicidal are really those types of people that are playing the video game, and because they messed up so many times already, they're like, I'm never going to finish, so click and start over. Right? So that's kind of their mindset. But really, it just, the challenge is what's making it like, it's actually necessary. The struggle, the pain. I've talked to people that's gone through like, really bad situations. And I told them, like, your movie is awesome right now. Like, you're standing here in front of me and you went through all that. Holy crap. I wonder where you're going to be in 5 years, And then all of a sudden they're just like, wow. I'm like, yeah, that's inspiring stuff. Tell people your story. I'm telling you, all of a sudden their perspective on their life kind of changed. Instead of going like, I'm being punished and, all of a sudden they just looked at it differently. Like, yeah, it's necessary. Look, you appreciate life more than anyone right now, It's
about perspective, right? When you're in the middle of really bad things, if you've had a divorce and you're financially, on the floor, you've lost your job. When it's actually happening, it's massive stress, and you're like, why is this happening to me? Well, when you get through that, when you look back on that period of your life, in retrospect, that's usually the time that you've made big changes, positive changes. You've gone on to greater things. And people say things like, I wouldn't be doing this now if it wasn't for that, People learn more from one disaster than 1,000 successes. It's a fact.
It's funny, like, because you mentioned that, so things are always triggering for me. Because one of the things that people say, right? Whenever people are in a bad situation, like, oh, Karl, you all right? All of a sudden they always say, well, Karl, everything happens for a reason. The only time they say that is when you're in a bad place. And I actually don't like it, because they're under the assumption that the reason is going to be good. At least that's your hoping, that perspective of this person. But if the perspective of this person goes, yeah, I'm being punished by God or something, well, what you just mentioned is definitely not going to help them now, because everything happens for a reason. Also takes away your accountability. That once you say everything happens for a reason, as if you have no choice, there's no, the power of decision is just taken away from you. So I don't like it. And it's funny because the only reason they're even saying that is actually to make you feel better. What they're really trying to say, when people say, oh, everything happens for a reason, what they're really trying to say is, hey, Karl, find the reasons to make things happen. That's it. Use what you're going through right fucking now and make some changes. That's really what they're going, like, something can come out good from this.
Right.
So
turn
That's
that
why,
negative into a positive
yeah.
somehow.
And so what I don't like when things are being taken away from accountability. You know, oh, that's depression. Oh, that's PTSD. No one's getting cured from PTSD anymore because it's an excuse. So they go, oh, it's my PTSD is acting up. So let me take these pills. Okay, whew, I feel better. And all of it, but it's just an excuse to why they feel this way. But it's just invisible. We've talked about this. It would be such a different story if people started walking around, instead of saying depression or anxiety, they actually talk about the cause of the anxiety or the cause of their depression. You know, instead of going like, oh, my depression's really bad today, you could say like, oh man, losing my dad in an accident is kind of rough for me today. Such a different story, because now you know what to attack.
Yeah.
You just go, my depression today. What does that mean? Like, what are you doing for it?
And even for someone on the outside, listening to someone say something like that, how am I supposed to respond to that? If you just said, oh, my depression's acting up today, and I would say, well, I don't know how to help you with that, Karl. But if you told me, like he said, it was because, you know, I'm thinking about losing my dad in that terrible car accident, then I can maybe help you talk you through that somehow, you know, because I know the cause of what's making you depressed.
Right. You can't let go of your past girlfriend or
something.
But if you just go, my anxiety, my depression, it's like, I don't know how to help you, because I'm fighting an invisible fight here.
Right. Like you said, manage your stress, manage the anxiety.
Yeah. I have a question. So one of the biggest kind of, I don't want to say annoying, a little harsh, but when someone's in just a negative mindset, excuses, right? They love it. So one of the things they say is this. Let's say you're trying to help someone. Let's say I'm in depressed mode and stuff, and I go, Karl, you don't understand. What do you say with that when people do that to you? When they go like, Karl, you just don't understand.
Because it never happened to you, so you don't understand.
Yeah, you didn't get raped. You didn't go to war. Like, you know what? You don't understand. I'm messed up. You don't understand.
Well, as a professional listener, as I like to call myself,
nice.
If they come to see me as a client or whatever, or if I think someone genuinely needs my help, I'll be like, look, I'm really stupid. Imagine I'm really stupid. Make me understand. Help me understand. I want to understand. Share it with me. And that's a really powerful thing to say. Just share it with me. It's not like pour it out. Just share it. Let's share it together. And it's like, it's that old thing, a problem halved is, a problem shared is a problem halved. People just want to be listened to a lot of the times, and this is it's just want to listen. Some people come to see me, pay a lot of money, and they just sit there and they talk and talk and talk. And they're like, you don't say much for a therapist. I'm like, well, because I don't need to say anything. I can see this is making you feel better. You're offloading, you're sharing this. So why would I interrupt? And I'm not a therapist. I don't sit there with a clipboard. That's a barrier, right? I just let people just open up. And then I'll get an impression of where I need to go with it. As I say, I'm a quantum coach. I'm not a Newtonian coach where people have got checklists. I'm not, I'm not a psychoanalyst or anything. Oh, this because of just listen to the person in front of me. Most people just want to be listened to. That's it. It's simple as that.
Yeah. So that's funny. When I really started telling people about listening, so I was really stressed out. I was bad. I was having a really bad day. And this was the ear for it, right? So I'm telling her how my life just sucks, and this is happening. Like, oh, I can't handle it.
I was over listening to it.
And what's funny is, like, as I was telling her, I was feeling better and better and better. And then this girl goes, you'll be all right. You're awesome. You'll be good. All of a sudden, everything went shoo, and it felt like shit again. And I'm going, that's odd. Because I know she meant well, obviously. She's trying to motivate me. And this is what we do to everyone, right? We always try to motivate someone when someone's like that. And that's when I really learned. It's like, babe, only because I do this for a living, I go, babe, you don't do that. Because I was actually feeling better. And then as soon as you said, I'll be okay, which is supposed to be a good thing, which is weird, it backfired. So I told her, next time, just like listen to me, and or when I'm really bad, hug me, man. And
me a hug.
because I was actually feeling better. But then I brought it to the next level. Now that I know that, I go, whoa, it actually backfires. So sometimes we're under the impression that when someone's really depressed, come on, you can do it. Come on, that doesn't work.
No.
That's when I really realized it has to come from the person, right?
Yeah.
You cannot put socks on them and get them out. Though sometimes that does help, remedies the result a little bit. But that's when I took it to the next level. I'm just like, whenever I'm sad and stuff like that, and now I do it to myself, is that you have to complain and let it out, because that actually provides a roadmap for what you need to work on. I just don't have enough time. Well, how do you get more time? Man, I just can't do this. I don't have enough money. What are you doing for a side hustle? Like you're actually putting it out there. And so what I say to people now, when as an advice, when I talk to people that can't deal with their parents, I mean their kids, and that's when I realized, like, that's why kids are trying to run away from you, because you're just gonna tell me I'm awesome, I'm pretty, I'm gonna be awesome, and so they start going. And I didn't know why it was annoying until later. The reason it's annoying is because when someone when she, at least from my own experience, when she did that to me, I was like, you didn't hear a word that I said. At least that's what I went through my mind. I'm like, you didn't hear anything I just said. You're just telling me my life's going to be awesome. And then, so that's when I said, like, you just have to listen. But the next step is to ask people, now what? Like, now what? Because you're in this bad mindset, like, why me? Why is this happening? And then when you ask now what, it signifies that I listened to everything, like, exhausted. Like, I listened to everything you said. I didn't miss anything. But now what? So all of a sudden they go into this solution mindset.
It forces them to make a decision, though.
Yeah, it turns them to go, well, I guess I have to leave this job that I really hate, or something like that. So I like the way you said, you just listen, because you're never going to know the problem until you know the problem. Like, because
people think they understand what the problem is. Now, what I do, similar to what you just said, but this is a really cool thing to do. I'll say, just emphasizing different words. Right, so you've just told me something, and I'll say, so how do you feel about that? And then that makes you go introspective. You'll self-analyze, you'll go deeper, and you'll come back. So then you ask exactly the same question with different emphasis. So how do you feel about that? And then it sounds like a different question, but it's the same. And then I'll do it 3 times. So how do you feel about that?
Oh,
and then you see these shifts, and people, you're asking the same question.
And all you did was emphasize different parts of it. And it's taken.
I'm giving all my secrets away. This is being recorded, Ricardo. You don't have to mind it.
Well, that's actually funny. Just thinking about that, because sometimes that's what messes up when you're texting someone, right? They don't get the actual.
Yeah, they read into it. They're like, what do they mean by that? And they all
right.
Like when you just go like, okay, that's cool. Oh, okay, that's cool, huh? That's funny. I never really thought about that. Yeah, I wish we could get more questions. I really wanted to get people that are like stressing out to ask more questions, and I wish they would just take advantage of this moment, because it's the reason why we do this, like to get someone that's like going through something, because like you said, until we know what you're going through, I don't know
how to help you.
We can only give you general guidelines. Like, that's all we can do. Like, are you stressing about something? If you have questions, reach out. Go to go to that website, karlrollison.com. You can reach him there. He's actually doing a lot of YouTube videos. You just started doing that, right? I guess because the pandemic kind of pushed you to do it, or?
I started doing it purely because of lockdown. As I say in my video on YouTube, I've got about 25 videos up there now. So if anyone does watch them, I need more subscribers. So
Yeah.
but in there, I think I've given a lot of techniques there that people don't give away, right? These therapists, they keep stuff to themselves.
Right.
I've given a lot of stuff away there to deal with all this stuff. I really have.
Yeah.
And when people contact me, people have been asking me, magazines and that get in touch with me, and people contact me, ask me if I can cover a different subject. So I'll just get in front of the video camera and do as much as I can. I don't know everything, you know, but I try to. If I don't know something, I'll go and learn it, and then I'll try and present it as best as I can.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now you have 3 books?
Now I've got 2 books. Well, I've got e-books as well.
Ninja,
but,
yeah, the Stress Ninja.
Sleep Ninja and Stress Ninja. Hold them back up again so people can see them, so we can plug those for you. Wait, let me put up put this up. Let me do it this way.
There you go.
What's that?
The lighting's really bad in here because my dimmer switch broke just before this call.
No, we can see everything right there. We've got you. So that's
So the Sleep Ninja was the first one, right? And then Stress Ninja?
Stress Ninja was the first one. This relates. I was getting students, martial arts students, and women's self-defense students who are really fearful of street attacks. And then on the other side, I had my corporate clients in Harley Street and different offices that had the same fight or flight response, but rather than being a street attack, it's like a demanding boss. So I'm like, these techniques are exactly the same. That's why I called it Stress Ninja. The methodologies and the understanding to overcome like a demanding work environment is the same to defend yourself in a street fight, a street attack. So and then so when you in there, it gives you the understanding I think I've written it in a hypnotic language framework as well, so it draws you in. That was the idea anyway. So it draws you in, read it, and it'll give you all the techniques to deal with stress. Now, Sleep Ninja, I wrote that because that's another pillar of dealing with stress. If you're well rested, you understand your stress levels, you have mechanisms. It's like having backups. It's like having your bros with you wherever you go, right? Having these techniques where you can deal with any stress, right? If you have that, then you have a good stress. You're in sync with your circadian rhythms and your ultradian rhythms, and you sleep well, and then you're hydrated as well. Then the other thing that's really important as part of the foundation is what you mentioned earlier. It's an attitude of gratitude, being thankful for what you've got. So there's these 4 pillars, and then after that, if you follow this routine, this methodology, the only result is confidence, is happiness and confidence. But as we know, it's not like a happy ever after with this stuff. Mental health, mental resilience, it's a constant thing. You have to constantly monitor your environment and inoculate against negativities.
Right. It's a forever thing. So people that are watching, you work on it today. You know, it's ongoing. People don't just all of a sudden, I can eat sugar like crazy now, like because I'm in shape. Like that's not a good idea at all.
You have to keep everything in check all the time.
You have to.
Can I mention sugar quickly? Have we got much time?
Yeah, please.
Right, so we've only been eating refined sugar for the last couple of 100 years, right? Our bodies don't know how to deal with it, but we've been eating honey for like 1 million years before we were humans. Now, if you put honey and sugar in someone's tea or coffee, they won't be able to tell if it's sugar or honey, right? But the difference is the sugar triggers a stress response in our brain, right? Honey doesn't do that. But we know how to process honey. We've been eating it for millions of years. We haven't evolved to deal with sugar. So this is good that you brought this up. So still have all your sweet stuff, substitute your sugar for honey. And that just with this other cocktail stuff with the vitamin D and the magnesium, you know, you get in there, it will help you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Just one other thing about the magnesium, which is funny, and now it's making sense to me because of what you said earlier about how there's less and less magnesium in the soil and in our food. I have a vegetable garden, and I put Epsom salts in with the water when I water my garden. Not every day, but I do put Epsom salt in with the water. And it's because of all the magnesium that's in the Epsom salt. And I get tomatoes that are like this big and they are bright red and they're beautiful. Like all my vegetables grow like crazy. And that's one reason. And that's like the main reason why.
It's cool.
I never really connected it all until you actually said that. It just makes sense. But that's a tip for anyone who gardens. Put some Epsom salts in your garden.
Are you sure you don't know it all?
That's crazy. That's really awesome.
I'm glad you're not just,
all connecting.
Yeah, because I always tell people it's connected. Your physical and mental health, it's connected. You're one, man. You can't just go one and then the other. There are people that are so fit and they commit suicide. Like, and that they're not supposed to be, because they already got a great mindset. They're working out. They got the discipline, this, that, but they still haven't forgiven their mom, like, so they're destroyed, or, just something. And same thing with the mental health. You could be the best mental health, but how are you obese? Like, so you're forgetting that part. You could be so much better. So it always works together. The physical can really affect your mental health, and your mental health obviously affects your physical health. So we always try to emphasize, like, and it's funny, like, look what you're suggesting to some people, like as simple as just changing some diets, whether it's the sugar intake, the vitamin D, the magnesium, it's like
water.
That can actually just straighten you out. And it's, a lot of therapists are not going to say that.
You have proof of it too. You have proof of it. People have actually called you back and said that it worked. So, I mean, that's like scientific fact.
Right.
Well, I mean, everything I do is emphatic. I go out there and test. I've been around the world a few times. Martial arts and everything. I'll throw myself into things, and I've had a lot of injuries because of it. I won't just sit there as a spectator. I haven't just got bookish knowledge. I don't just read this stuff and go to classes, which I have done a lot.
Yeah.
I'll go out there. I'll test it. I'll test it on myself.
Well,
the other thing you were saying about how the mind affects the body, a really good indicator of this is when we're feeling down and dejected, our shoulders slump and our heads drop.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, if you're feeling good and you sit at slumped, you adopt that posture. No matter how good you're feeling, your emotion, your physical motion, your emotional response will start to deepen.
Right.
It's the same thing. If you're feeling really good, you express it with confidence and in your posture.
Right.
And that's why if you walk around, this is what I say to people as well. This is not so, but if you look up at the sky when, after like a session, people have left me for stress or anxiety.
Yeah.
I'll say, right, I just want you to count how many airplane trails you can see in the sky. There's not many at the moment. But what it does, it forces people to look up. And when you're looking up,
like that.
you're probably opening up your lungs, and that just perpetuates this feeling of feeling good. So the posture is really important as well.
Right.
It's just upright. And the other reason I think that there's so much stress and anxiety in the world is because this posture of slumping, everyone's doing it now because everyone's looking down at their phones and their devices.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I never thought of that part.
That's huge.
You're so
People
right.
Are looking down on
One of my observations.
Yeah, we almost hit some kid on a bike yesterday. Well, he almost ran into us. He was on his bike on his cell phone, and he just came right out into the street. And when we were driving, we're like, "What? Where?" He didn't even look. He just straight out.
I never
because his face was down on his phone on a bike in the street.
Yeah, and it's just it's funny how powerful it is, and people don't really think about that. Like, there was this one book, Walk 45% Faster. It gives you that sense of purpose, and all of a sudden you change your outlook. Even, they say just smiling, all of a sudden endorphins, because like, oh, you must be happy. The mind you can trick with your physiology, and it's crazy. That's the mind, is so powerful, but at the same time, it's so easily manipulated, right? So those are those little tricks. And it's funny, I read this one thing, people that are blind, they have the same response. When we're excited, we go fuck yeah, like, yeah. Someone that's been blind forever, that's also their response. They've never seen anyone do it, but they actually go, yeah. And it's funny, that's how connected the brain and your body, how it works together. And it actually goes, whoa, like that's how close it is. So that's why things like you mentioned, but I love those little things like that to make people, when I talked to one episode where someone was talking about balance and, balancing their life. And I go, well, to visualize it, to help them out, I go, to help balance your life, like when you're balancing on a tightrope, don't look down, right?
Look down.
Because as you look down at every little step in your life, it's actually more scary. That's why they always say, don't look down, because you're going to scare your ass off. If you look at every little step in your life, just look at where you're trying to go. Because if you're looking at every step, it's going to scare you. So you got to chin up. That's the only way you're going to balance yourself. You actually balance yourself better when you're looking at where you're trying to go. But when you're looking at every little step, you're going to scare the shit out of yourself and you're going to topple. And so that's kind of how I've helped people's perspective with like balancing, like, well, first you got to keep your head up, But I wish we could get more questions. With that?
I did a similar thing, Shane. So I showed it's a trick how to draw a straight line. I don't know if you know this.
No, go ahead.
If you get a pencil and you try and draw a straight line, it will undulate. But if you draw a dot at one end, put the pencil there, stare at the dot, and allow the pencil to go across.
That's
straight
great.
line.
That's great.
I have to try that next.
I always visualize it like
I can't draw straight
walking to a certain point. And if you look down and go like, all right, that's where you want to go. Now, just only look down. Don't look at where you're going. You're most likely never going to hit it. Most likely. But if you go like this, even when there's obstacles in your way, you're just going to know like what? You can go around it because you know exactly where you're going. But if all you do is look at every
because you're focusing on the problem, you're focusing on all the problems because that's the problem. I'm gonna fall if I look down, or I'm gonna whatever. So
you forget your destination.
You forget the goal.
Yeah, right.
This is why goals are really important. And when you form a goal, you have to give it as many details as possible. Visualize it, give it color, give it substance. Think about where you want to be in 5 years' time, and visualize it, and just aim towards that. Forget about your little problems and issues you've got. Just think, I'm going to be there at one point. And that what it does, it draws you towards it. The more details you give it, the more like energy you give it, it actually draws it gets its own gravity, and it draws you towards it. This is why goals are really important. 1 year, 6 months, a week, 5 years, 10 years. You got to have goals. And the happiest people in the world are the ones that know where they've got a 1 year plan, a 3 year plan, 5 year plan, 10-year plan. Right. You got to have positive intention. Move forward with positive intention, and don't let anything get in your way. Right. You're gonna hit pitfalls. You're gonna fall, but then you get up again because you're heading towards this goal.
Right. And then even more than that, instead of concentrating on the goals, you need a sense of purpose. The goals are to get you to achieve your sense of purpose, but just like mental health, physical health, it's forever. It's not finite. The goals will keep going and going. There's always going to be new goals forever. Yeah. And so that's what's always going to happen. But thank you so much for a great talk here.
Yeah, I appreciate your time. I know it's late in London right now, so thank you.
Yeah, and I hope all is well there.
Your rhythm's messed up now.
Wait, what's that?
Sorry?
What'd you say?
I said my circadian rhythms are messed up now.
So everyone, that's watching this, I hope you stole a lot of his tricks here.
Learn.
Look at the stars when you're feeling like crap. Like start looking at the stars. Stop looking at your phone. If you're gonna look at your phone, go like this. So you don't have. They need to start doing that for the phones, Thank you so much for taking the time. Definitely want to keep in touch. We have you on our definitely list of speakers that we'd love to, raise money for. If there's a school or something that you'd love to talk at or whatever, let us help you. Raise money for it so that we can send you, so your accountant can actually like you.
He hates me. So.
You know, and because that's the goal of it. You know, it's like we should be able to do this, and no one's doing it proactively. You know, you can't keep waiting. It's not going to work that way. Everything, any kind of prevention is always proactive. There's no ways, you know, you can't react for prevention. So yeah, we got you covered here. We're going to keep it on our list. You know,
you're doing a great job. It's a really good thing you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So, you know, let us know if there, especially when we go back to normal. I mean, there's going to be issues out there. So if there's anything we can help you out with, whether it's just raising money to help more schools in your area, or
we'd be happy to help.
Something, we'd love to help raise some money for it, you know, and the more we can do that, the better. You know, maybe we'll send you out here somewhere. We'll go over there too.
It's been a few years since we've been to London. We need to go
we've
back.
been there. So I've visited your town. So yep. I even had a was it Pimp? No. Pim's Cup.
They're my favorite.
So, you know, I'm getting into culture. You
get them in America as well, Pimp.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
That's my first time.
Totally get it.
I had to go London style, you know?
Yeah, I think the first time I had them was here, actually.
So. Yeah, after a while, I was walking around like, hey, hello, mate, you all right?
Yeah, that needs a little bit of work.
No, I know. It's bad.
Well, anyway,
until
thank you
next time.
So much for joining us. I really
it was definitely a pleasure. Please keep in touch. Yeah,
will do. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you everyone that's watched. Please visit him at karlrollison.com. Check out our website, startday1.org, and we will talk to you again soon. See ya.
Cheers.
Thank you.
All right. Awesome.